We agreed yesterday that the last item I add to the course menu will be the last item in the list. As you can see, I just added it now as the last item at the bottom of the list. So what do I need to do? I need to drag it up to the top until I place it where I want it to be, especially when it comes to the final exam day. Or raise the link for the final exam to the top so students can find it immediately. I created the final exam link in the content area. Go to assessments to create a test. This is done. In the content area, to do this, choose content area, name it assignments for course 443 and submit. Go to assessments to create a test. To create assignments, make a separate item named assignments. To do this, choose content area, name it assignments for course 443 and submit. Now I have assignments as a content area. I can move it to the top. I have assignments for course 443 as a folder for assignments. Also, if you want to create assignments, you can create a separate item and name it assignments. How do you do that? You come from here, choose the content area and say, e.g., assignments for course 443. That's the name, and then you submit it. I have the last item, assignments, which I created as a content area. I can move it up to the top and place it where I want it to be. Now I have assignments for course 443, which will be my folder, where I can create any assignments. All the assignments will be inside this link. So whenever a student wants to see an assignment, they can just go to the assignments folder or the assignments link. In this case, instead of creating a test, I could create a folder and name it tests. So now I have the last item, assignments, which I created, and I moved it up to the top. Now I can start moving it to the place where I want it to be. I have assignments for course 443, which will be my folder where I can create any assignments. All the assignments will be inside this link. So when a student wants to see an assignment, they can go to the assignments folder or the assignments link. Now in this case, instead of creating a test here, I could create a folder and name it tests, so that when the student enters the tests folder, they can find everything organized. This way, every time a student enters the tests folder, they will see the midterm exam, the final exam, and any other tests. So they will know that the test folder is where they can find all the tests. All assignments will be inside this link. Instead of creating a test here, I could create a folder named tests. When the student enters the tests folder, they find everything organized. They will see the midterm exam, final exam, and other tests. They know the tests folder contains all tests. In the Blackboard system, the assignment is referred to as assignment or homework. You can name it whatever you like, assignment, activity, or project, but in the end, the system treats it as an assignment. When you go to the assessments, you choose the assignment. So the test item is where all the tests are located. Now, what do I do when I create assignments or homework? I come here and say, I want to create. In the Blackboard system, the assignment is referred to as assignment or homework. It gives it a name. Now, if you want to name it something else like task, activity, or research, you can name it however you like. But in the end, the system treats it as an assignment. So when you come to choose from the assessments, you will select the assignment. Now, this assignment that you are going to create can actually be in the form of a test. For example, you might say it's the first month homework, but essentially, it's a test with questions. These questions could be true, false, or multiple choice. So you are naming it homework, but when you choose from the assessments, you are actually selecting a test, which is the homework. You want to call it an assignment, an activity, a research, whatever you want to call it, but in the end, the system deals with it as what it is. As far as it is concerned, it is a homework. So when you come to choose from the evaluations, you will choose which one. You will choose the homework. So this assignment you're going to create will actually be in the form of a test. For example, you might call it first month homework, but essentially, it's a test with questions. These questions could be true, false, or multiple choice. So you're naming it homework. But when you go to choose from the assessments, what do you select? It's a test. And the system categorizes it under tests, not assignments. You named it homework. But in the end, what is it really? It's a test. So now, just so you can see how to create an assignment easily, you will go to the assessments and select the assignment. You'll come here and say, for example, class assignment. I'm distinguishing it because it's a task. Under tasks, class task 443. Then you, sir, as we agreed yesterday, everything in Blackboard has properties you need to deal with, and you'll get used to them if you're not familiar. Any element must have a name. If creating the assignment or task, write its name as class task 443. There must be instructions, which are what you ask from the students. For example, if you want students to do a research task, write a research paper of about 20 pages covering this and that. Any element needs a name. If we're creating the assignment, name it class task 443. Instructions are needed. They are your request to students. Write a 20-page research paper covering specified topics. Specify everything clearly. Use assignment files to attach. To assign a research task, write a 20-page research paper covering specified topics. Specify everything clearly. Below, there is assignment files. These are for attaching helpful files. The due date is all these things. Write the instructions here, such as the word count. Put all these details in the instructions specific to you and the students. Also, down here, notice there's something called assignment files. These are when you want to attach a file for them, and this file will help them in preparing the assignment or task. Now, I also have the due date, and as you can see, the due date is this assignment is for a week or 2 weeks. This task should be submitted today. What's today's date? It's the 16th, so it will be a week. You want the student to submit it by the due date, meaning on a specific date, you want them to submit it. A file for them, and they will benefit from this file in preparing the task. Also, I have the deadline and the due date is, so this assignment is for a week or 2 weeks. This task is to be submitted today. What's today's date? It's the 16th, so it will be a week. You want the student to submit it by the deadline, meaning on a specific date, you want them to submit this assignment, say on the 5th. The last day would be the 5th of Ramadan. So this assignment is, e.g., for a week or 2 weeks. This task is to be submitted today. What's today's date? It's the 16th, so it will be a week. You want the student to submit it by the deadline, meaning on a specific date, you want them to submit this assignment, say on the 5th. The last day would be the 5th of Ramadan. So now it doesn't mean they won't be able to submit after the 5th of Ramadan. They can submit, but anyone who submits post 11:59 p.m. on the 5th of Ramadan will receive a late mark next to their submission. This will show up in the system as a late submission, and therefore you'll know who submitted their assignments late versus the specified deadline. This assignment is due, for example, on the 5th of the month, the last day. It's 5, for example, the 5th of Ramadan, for example. So now it does not mean that he will not be able to submit after the 5th of Ramadan. He will not be able to submit, but whoever submits after the 5th of Ramadan, after 11:59, will receive a late mark next to him. A late mark will appear on the system, and thus you will know everyone who was late in submitting or presenting the assignment after the specified date. And you can set grades for those who submit on time or for those who are late, and you can manage that aspect specifically. Also, the assignment will have specific points assigned to it. So this assignment is worth 5 points. You can set it here as 5 points. So we agreed that this assignment is worth 5 points. In terms of submission details, you specify that this assignment is individual, meaning each student must submit their assignment themselves. Each student prepares their assignment on their own, and you'll see each student's attempt and what they submitted. In the submission details, you specify that this assignment is individual, meaning each student must submit their assignment themselves. Each student prepares their assignment on their own, and you'll see each student's attempt and what they submitted. And you give each student their assignment grade here. It's not a group submission. It's an individual submission because the group is, I can create a class with 100 students, grouping them into 10 groups of 10. One student per group submits the assignment, resulting in 10 submissions to grade instead of 100. This is the main difference. Now we'll focus on individual submissions. You can set the number of attempts for students, 1, multiple, or unlimited. Each of the 10 groups will have one student submit, resulting in 10 attempts. I will grade 10 attempts, not 100 submissions. We're going to work on the regular individual submission process. You can give the student some attempts to submit their assignment. You can choose whether to allow one attempt, multiple attempts, or unlimited attempts. We can't have unlimited attempts because that wouldn't be practical. If we have 100 students, that means 100 students would submit 100 attempts. If each student submits 6 times, that would be 600 attempts. Typically, set it to 1 attempt, or if you want multiple attempts, specify, for example, 2 attempts maximum for each student. You give the student how many attempts they have to submit their assignment. Here, you can choose whether to allow 1 attempt, multiple attempts, or an unlimited number of attempts. We can't have an unlimited number of attempts as it's impractical. If we have 100 students, then 100 students would submit 100 attempts. If each student submits 6 times, that would be 600 attempts, a large number. Typically, set 1 attempt or allow multiple, like 2 max per student. How will students get results? Give the higher or last score based on criteria. If a student scores 4 first and 3 second, choosing higher records 4, last records 3, this is how attempts and results are managed. And you'll grade the 2 attempts, right? So which score will the student get from the 2 attempts? You can give them, for example, the higher score or the score from the last attempt based on your grading criteria. For instance, if a student scored 4 on the first attempt and 3 on the second, if you choose the higher score, the system will automatically record a 4 for them. If you said to take the last attempt, then the system will record a 3 for them. This is part of how the attempts and their results are managed. If you said to take the last attempt, then the system will record a 3 for them. This is part of how the attempts and their results are managed.